Today we're checking out an unloved hero, the Mk2 Volkswagen Golf GTI. You see, everybody goes crazy for the Mk1, but in today's video, we're gonna take this pristine Mk2 Golf GTI 16 valve for a drive to find out, are these overlooked or are they just simply not as good as the first generation? Now, let's do a little bit of background. GTI launched back in '76, the Golf launched in '74. This is the second generation of Golf, which debuted in September of 1983. Here in the US, of course, we didn't get it until 1985. Now, this isn't just any Golf GTI because it launched with an 8-valve engine, and then it went to a 16-valve engine, and I think 87. Someone can drop me a comment below if I'm right with that. And then in the US, we also got a 2-liter version of the Golf GTI. So in the US, this car ran through 92, and this is the best of the best. This is a 1992 16-valve, 2-liter powered Golf GTI. Now look at the design of this car. It is aged so gracefully. Part of the reason folks don't like these nearly as much as the first gen, they're just a lot bigger and quite a bit heavier, something like 260 pounds heavier, 7 inches wider, actually over 7 inches longer is what I'm trying to say, a couple inches wider, and it's just a much larger car overall, but the design is still iconic, it's classic, and it has aged beautifully well. Maybe not in this teal, which just screams 1992, but the boxy look is kind of timeless of these cars. Now, if we come on over to the front, I really like the front end of these cars. So the Rabbits we got here in the US, so we just drove a 1984, which you can check out over at alltfl.com. Those had square headlights, right? They had the 2 squares, and they didn't look nearly as cool as the European versions. But even in the US, we finally got the rounds in the Mk2, and it's got this kind of brow over the main beams, which give it such a sinister look. We also have a much slimmed down front bumper compared to the first generation. And then as we come along the side here, this is a 2-door with a sunroof, very de-chromed, which was very sporty back in the, mid-80s when it debuted, and certainly by 92 it was the norm. And then these wheels are really, really cool. 15-inch BBS wheel, one of the most iconic looks that we saw in these Golfs throughout this period. And then out back, it is, of course, a hatchback. Now, I've never opened up the hatch of a Mk2, but you can see it's surprisingly large, really high liftover height, but once you get things in, seats fold down, and they were just such practical vehicles. So, very cool stuff. I know this is kind of impromptu. I didn't expect to be able to drive this car today, but when Volkswagen of America say, come on out and drive some old cars, I'm like, heck yeah, we're gonna drive some old cars. Let's pop the hood and check out the engine. So, 2-liter, 16 valve, you can obviously tell the 8 from the 16 based on that little number. 134 horsepower, 133 pound-feet of torque. This is why I always practice. Oh man, someone's gonna be grumpy. There we go! Dual overhead cam 16 valve. 0 to 60 in like the mid 7 seconds, which is quite a bit faster than the Mk1, which was just under 10 seconds. Of course, front wheel drive, and then this one is a 5-speed manual transmission. If you think the exterior is cool, with its green on the red GTI trim, check out the inside, because there's some really cool stuff in here, starting with the Recaro seats. Now, the modern GTIs are so heavily bolstered, they squeeze you in. They don't want you leaving. They're like, you're gonna be in here one way or another. But these Recaros are beautifully comfortable. Yes, they're bolstered, but they're also very supportive, and they just don't squeeze you like the new ones do, which I think is great. I love some of the little red accents on the inside here, the 16 valve there on the glove box, and I love how everything is square and chunky. There's not a single curve in this interior. You got your fog light controls, your wiper controls, all of this is square and chunky. This is just awesome. 5-speed manual transmission, feels great, just slides into the gears, long throws compared to modern cars, but these cars are so easy to drive. Aftermarket JVC radio, and then the gauge cluster is one of my favorites as well. So check this out, when it brings to life, you've got the dummy lights there in the middle, and it's just simple, clear, and easy to understand. And speaking of the sound, I'm gonna give this to Zach. Zach, you wanna put it by the exhaust? Let's see what this thing sounds like. All right, unleash the computer. Thank you, Zach. It sounds freaking awesome is what it sounds like. Now I'm gonna try to put the seatbelt on. Watch this. So I take this upper section and I insert it there into the door, and then I take the lower section and I strap it here. So it's kind of a bit of a process putting the seatbelt on, but once you're on, you're nice and secure. I can take that from you, Zach, if you want to get secured. Steering wheel, very basic standard steering wheel horn. Simple, easy to use. These cars are so basic by modern standard, and they're just so functional. Manual windows, manual mirrors, some of the smallest mirrors you're gonna find. But this car is all about the driving experience. That's why folks bought GTIs. Zach is also now working on his...
I never thought I'd take for granted how easy it is to put on a steering seatbelt in a modern car.
His insane seatbelt.
Oh, come on.
It's okay, Zach. We're not gonna be going very fast. You can just use the lap belt.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna be going nice and slow here. Don't worry. All right, full power. No, I'm kidding. Here we go. Off in the Mark II. Now, first things first, steering incredibly heavy, but very responsive. The rack is a little slower than what I was expecting. It does take more steering wheel input to actually get it to turn. But once you get it loaded up, it's got just a great feel to it. It's so progressive. And then let's get onto the straightaway here on our little track. See how that engine works? Oh my gosh, that's so much quicker than the Mark I that we just drove. 0 to 60, like I said, about 7.8 seconds. And this car, even with 133 horsepower, would accelerate all the way up to over 130 miles an hour. So pretty decent performance. I'm gonna chuck it into the turn here. Oh, yeah, it's so neutral. Wow. These cars, you know, a few hundred pounds heavier than the first gens, but you really, compared to any modern car, you can't really feel that weight difference. It's just a joy to drive. And it's so mechanical. You know, I think back in 1992 when this car was new, people were like, cars from the 40s and the 50s, those are the mechanical ones. These new cars have electronic fuel injection and they've got, you know, some cases ABS and all this stuff. But now, this is the car that feels direct and mechanical, and it's just beautiful to drive. Absolutely loving it. Here, we're gonna give it a little bit of a slalom test here. So quite a bit of body roll, right? Like it does roll around, but that adds to the character, and the car is so light, you never feel like it's gonna roll over completely. So very impressed with some of just the behaviors of this car. The shifter feels good, nice and direct. That engine is so willing and excited to rev. And there's no rev hang unlike the modern cars where they have to comply with emissions. This thing just slots into gear and then off you go. Look at the handling. Look at that. Got some wheel squeal there. So folks, just what a lovely little car to drive. These are getting kind of hard to find. A lot of them were crashed, a lot of them rotted away, and there's just not that many left out in existence. Oh God. Oh boy, there we go.
Such a fun time.
We got it. But let's kind of close this up and talk about this car. As a whole, I would absolutely consider buying one of these Mark IIs. I mean, they're a little bit cheaper, a little bit maybe easier to find than some of the early Mark Is, and they're still lovely, lovely, lovely automobiles. They look cool. They're different than anything else on the road. They can be fixed relatively easily, and if you get one in a cool color like this, it'll really stand out. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. This has been Tommy behind the camera, the ever famous Zach Butler, and we'll see you next time, alltfl.com. Thanks for watching.